Welcome to Talking Allergies, the podcast where we talk all things allergies about all types of allergies in all kinds of allergy lives.
From food allergies to environmental allergies, special guests, community stories, allergy and science giveaways, and more.
This is your allergy podcast for all things allergies.
Hi, Melrick.
Hi, Grace, and welcome to another episode of Talking Allergies. On this Talking Allergies episode, we are going to be talking about cooking with food allergies. And we have a special guest on who is a practicing GP, a TV presenter, and an author who has some friendly recipes to share with the allergy community in her latest book.
We do. It's a great episode talking all about cooking with food allergies. And you know what? Living with food allergies means you become a really good allergy chef.
You do. And whether it's you cooking for your loved one, so whether you're a parent or a sibling or a partner, cooking for a loved one that has food allergies, or you are a person that works at a friendly venue, a food venue, and you're making meals for people that have food allergies, you do become an allergy chef because you really learn ways to create some culinary delights that don't have traditional ingredients in them, but are still quite tasty.
Oh, exactly. One of my favourite things to do is to turn up at either a friend's house or at the family function with a dish that everyone can eat, because I already know the dietary requirements of everyone attending. And you make it so much so that everyone can try it. And it's really nice to get feedback that they really enjoyed it and felt included too.
Oh, that's a great sort of way to make everybody feel inclusive. And you also sort of do that thing where people sometimes go to parties with food allergies or functions and they go, oh, it's a shared meal. I'm going to stay away from that because it might have my allergens in it. But suddenly if you create a shared meal situation and someone's got food allergies and you go, actually, you can eat that too, and so can all the other people here. You make it inclusive. You make them feel like they're more part of the event than they would have previously been. And it's just really nice. And I can imagine that you've made a lot of people happy, Grace, doing that.
Oh, well, also I make a few things festive for the event too. So it's always a little bit wacky and a little bit peculiar, but always allergy friendly.
Yeah, and look, I imagine that you're not the only person out there that is making these inclusive meals for people to share at parties and functions. And on that note as well, one of my favorite sort of bits, and I've been on both sides of it, where I've cooked things for people with food allergies, and I've also eaten things that have been made for people with other food allergies. And I love seeing the expression on people's faces when they don't have food allergies themselves, but they eat something new. That has been catered for someone that has food allergies, and that's like very common with, like, say, wheat allergies, a lot of nut allergies, even dairy allergies, where the alternatives can be quite easy to use and are quite tasty. And then the people that don't have those food allergies, they eat something and they're like, oh, this is pretty good. And then you go and tell them that doesn't have dairy, or that doesn't have wheat, or that doesn't have nuts in it. And they're like, what? How's that even possible? This is really delicious. And you're like, well, you know, you can make some quite delicious things without using traditional ingredients. You just got to go and give it a go, and you can create that culinary delight.
Oh, exactly. One of my favorites is when you've put something that's replacing egg, and when they're trying it, they go, oh, but how is this made without egg? How is it so fluffy? And you go, look, you can make a whole lot of things without different ingredients. You just have to be a little bit creative and understand how to make it, but making sure it's allergy friendly.
Exactly. And think about it as a 5-star restaurant experience. Now, you go to a 5-star restaurant, you know, you might be having like a 7-course degustation, and you're going to be eating little tiny meals, of course, little tiny bits, but they're all going to have different flavor profiles. They're going to be created in different ways. They're not going to taste like your traditional sort of meal, but it will be created in a new way, in a special way. And that's how you can look at allergy friendly food in a way that's the way I see it anyway, that it is a newly created meal and a newly created culinary delight that has a different flavor profile, but is still quite delicious. And as you said, Grace, you know, there's egg alternatives, and I talked about dairy and nuts and so forth. There's also some soy alternatives out there. I found like a really cool oyster alternative for oyster sauce to use in stir fries and things that was vegan, so it had no shellfish in it at all. And you know, there's a lot of alternatives you can find out there. Sometimes not even using the core ingredient, just using the separate ingredient completely. That's not an alternative, just a complete replacement. So you can really create something quite tasty.
Oh, exactly. You can create anything that you'd like to create without those ingredients. And you just have to make it different. It doesn't need to be exactly that taste or exactly that finish. It is something newly created.
And for those people out there that are tuning in, and whether you are cooking for a loved one that has food allergies, or just cooking for a mate, or you work at a restaurant or cafe or a food venue and you're cooking for people that have food allergies, thank you. Keep going. It is appreciated, and I'm sure you are a master allergy chef. We are going to call you Master Allergy Chef anyway, if someone hasn't called you that already. But yeah, keep going. It's much appreciated. It makes everything friendly and safe, and it allows people that have food allergies to find ways to continue doing things they love.
Oh, allergy chefs need a special shout out for being able to be the most caring and catering people, but also some of the most inventive in terms of how they make things, and very impressive. Now, if you are looking to be an allergy chef, we have a few tips on how to become an allergy chef.
And here's the best part. You do not need to have allergies to be an allergy chef. Anyone can be an allergy chef. And if you become an allergy chef, you are amazing.
It just comes with being able to cater. It's just you become amazing. Love it. Now, you have to write down all of the dietary requirements that you are catering for. So write down all of the allergies, intolerances, autoimmune conditions like celiac disease, anything that you are catering for, make sure you write it down on a list.
That's a really good one, Grace. And, when we are talking about allergy-friendly cooking, it does overlap with other sort of dietary requirements, and, people that have conditions like, say, celiac disease, having those dietary requirements considered, even if it's vegan or kosher, halal, whatever it is, making that inclusivity across the whole community for anyone that is coming to your function or at your venue, whether it's like a private party or something that you're doing professionally, understanding what those requirements are and putting them down on paper always helps.
Oh, exactly. And if you're cooking at home, it means that you've got that piece of paper written down or in your phone or wherever else you have it. It means that when you're going out to the shop to actually have a look at the back of the packs and making sure that what you're buying is actually able to cook that meal, that you've got a point to actually reference the back of the pack. So to see whether it actually contains it or may contains it. So you make sure that the actual ingredients that you're buying are accommodating to that.
Yeah, definitely understanding those ingredients, looking at the main contains and so forth. Another thing you can also sort of do with that is call the manufacturers and check ahead if you're not sure about that. There's always those little helplines and so forth to find out more information. And if you're not sure about that product, then just don't use it. I think if you have any uncertainty, there are other alternatives that you can find. Sometimes even asking the people that you are catering for if they know of those alternatives so they can help you guide. Work together is sort of what we're getting to. You can work together to create that little culinary delight for them.
Exactly. And even if your recipe goes off just what you thought that you could do and it changes a little bit, well, you're a perfect allergy chef.
Yeah, remember what we said. It's a 5-star experience no matter what. So you are creating something quite special. And look, that also goes with when you're preparing the meal. Things like cross-contamination and cross-contact can happen. So really getting that workspace and those utensils cleaned and ready so that they're not with any allergens and they are friendly to what you are preparing.
Exactly, like washing your hands, making sure that there's absolutely nothing around that could possibly be in it as well.
Yeah, washing the bench too. If you've got any ingredients that could be with allergens in it, moving them away. Just put them aside, put them away into other places. And if you're not sure about it, just connect with people, ask people that have allergies, reach out, find out some more information. If you're not sure about what you can do, look it up, but there are definitely ways to prepare your space to make it allergy friendly. This is if you're at home, and if you're in a professional kitchen as well, follow those rules that you have in your kitchen with those sort of standards and safety standards and preparation standards that you need to do.
But the biggest thing about being an allergy chef is you have to think, not what can't I create, it's what can I create. Say if you've got someone wants a lasagna and you go, okay, Now, I have a wheat allergy, a dairy allergy, and I would still like the lasagna. I've made a lasagna in the past that is wheat and dairy free. It can be done, and actually, it tastes really good. So, what can you make for those people as well is really the mindset of the allergy chef.
Yeah, and if you want to go a few of the other extra steps as well, if you've got some patrons that have food allergies and they've advised they are anaphylactic, for instance, ask them about their emergency instructions, just to have that on hand. So if they tell you, I've got to take my EpiPen or Anapen, even might be something where they have some other medication they might need to use for their allergies. It doesn't have to be anaphylaxis, but if there's any emergency or any instructions that they have in the case of a reaction, even if you've taken every precaution, finding out what that is so you can be there as well to help them out. Now, we are talking, I guess, in terms of people that are catering for others that they might not normally have over, but if you're a parent or a partner and you've been cooking for your partner or child for a long time, you might already be ready. But either way, just being always ready on hand in the case of a reaction.
Exactly. Now, being an allergy chef does not mean you need to make everything from scratch every time. There are some great mixes and cake boxes and whatever else out there that is allergy friendly, that doesn't contain anything, and then you can add the substitutions for anything that you need to it. But make sure that whatever you're adding into that meal is allergy friendly.
That's right. Don't feel that you have to create everything from scratch. Like, you can use those pre-mades. There are a lot of great ones out there. Just go to your local supermarket and see what's there. Even look it up online. There are a lot of pre-mades that have some of those mixes that don't have those ingredients, the traditional or the allergens. And yeah, just go for it. Make it. No one will know the difference. I'm speaking from experience about that. So yeah, just go out there and enjoy it. And we know out there are many more amazing allergy chefs that have that. So if you're trying to find out what you could do, just jump online and speak to a few people. I'm sure there's amazing amount of feedback you're going to get from any types of allergy chef or cooking with food allergies experiences from other people.
Oh, exactly. People are always up to share their recipes and to say what they're able to cater for as well. I think it's really lovely. A lot of our community will share the recipes that they've actually created or had for their families. I think it's really, really lovely.
It is. And talking about lovely things, Grace, this episode is all about cooking with food allergies. And what better segue than to talk about our special guest on this episode who has created a cookbook, all about that.
Yeah, I had a lovely interview with Dr. Preeya. You may have seen her on TV. She is a TV presenter, a practicing GP as well in Melbourne, and also an author to a few books. But the one we're talking about today is about recipes and substitution with allergies and intolerances. But she's absolutely lovely, and she talks a lot about when to see a GP with allergies, and quite a bit more. You're just going to have to listen in.
That sounds really exciting, Grace. I cannot wait. Let's tune right in.
Hi, Dr. Preeya, and welcome to Talking Allergies.
Thank you for having me.
Could you start off by talking a little bit about your background?
Sure. So I am a practicing GP in Melbourne. So I work in Richmond, in metropolitan Melbourne. I'm in the clinic 2 days a week. I'm also a mum of two, and I guess I have this kind of other life where I write books, I go and present on TV, and I have a podcast. So I kind of have the best of both worlds. But yeah, I'm a mum of two. I'm trying to feed kids constantly. I'm very conscious of preventative health, of doing what I can through lifestyle interventions to look after not only myself and my family, but also my patients, pass on little pearls of wisdom. And that's what I also try and do through my social media platform on Instagram.
It sounds like a variety of different areas and information and experiences too.
Yeah, so it's a busy life, and it's a full plate, as the name of the cookbook suggests. So constantly juggling and trying to find time, but so far it's working.
As a practicing GP, how have you seen the impact of allergies in your work?
So I see a lot in the allergy space. So I have plenty of patients who are dealing and living with food allergy. So I am the kind of the GP who's doing, allergy plans for childcare centres, for schools, for workplaces. I'm the GP who's ensuring that we're doing everything we can to reduce the risk of an anaphylactic reaction, making sure EpiPens are up to date. And I'm also the GP who's kind of there for patients dealing with the psychological and the emotional burden of either living with a food allergy or caring for a child with a food allergy. And so that can be really stressful, as I'm sure your community is aware. But that's kind of, I'm often that support person, particularly for parents and caregivers, ensuring that we're managing stress as well as we can, ensuring that care plans are up to date, that we're doing everything to reduce risk, but also ensure that everyone feels supported enough to go to school and navigate the lunchbox and birthday parties with some confidence. So yeah, I guess I see a lot in the allergy space, a lot in the skin allergy space as well. And then I guess the other hat that I wear as a GP is in allergy prevention. And so I do a lot with patients who've got younger children who are starting solids on trying to reduce the risk of food allergies by introducing those common allergy causing foods into the diet before the age of 1, keeping them in the diet if there's no reaction. But I guess that's the other flip side. So yes, I'm there for all the management stuff, but I'm also doing the prevention, which is the cool part of being a GP.
GPs have a very big role as well as the first point of call.
Absolutely. So we are there as the first port of call for lots of things in the community. But I guess for the kind of allergy space, we're the people that, initially people will come and go, is this, isn't this, what do you think it is? My child has consumed this. I saw this reaction with photographs. So it's, we have a lot of knowledge, or we know a little bit about everything, and we know lots about some particular things, but it just means that I see a lot of patients who go, is this, isn't it, Preeya? Which can be a tricky part of the job, but also an exciting one.
As a GP, how do you coordinate the care with other healthcare providers?
So look, that can look really different for every patient. So my job as the GP is to make sure that all the care providers, be it an allergist, so a non-GP specialist who's an allergist or immunologist, the dietitian who's often involved, it's my job to make sure that we're all communicating and that the patient is really getting holistic management, not just this kind of silo of the allergist, immunologist, then the silo of the dietitian, and then the silo of me, but actually making sure that it's all coming together. That whatever the dietitian, for instance, is suggesting, so if there's a food allergy and we're having to avoid certain foods, and the dietitian is involved to make sure we're still meeting nutritional requirements, which is very common. That's a common way that I see dietitians and food allergies in my consulting room. Then it's my job to also ensure the allergist or the immunologist is aware of the food groups that we're trying to up titrate to make sure all the nutritional needs are met, and actually to make sure the patient is aware of everything going on. And that's probably the key part of my job, is making sure the patient is aware of all the correspondence I'm getting, of everyone's plans, what they're thinking, and communicating it to them and making sure the patient's empowered. Because they're in the box seat, they're in the driver's seat, and half the time things will be in a letter and it hasn't been communicated to the patient. So I make sure, that's a big part of my job, making sure the patient's in the know.
That's a very big part of healthcare, is educating and empowering people living with allergies.
Absolutely. People with allergies, I think, need to be empowered with all the knowledge. And if you're seeing different care providers, sometimes it can feel like it's not all working together. And that's when you need to say to the GP, look, I really need to know how this roadmap fits together. And that's where I often get out a piece of A4 paper and kind of link it all together so the patient can see the bigger picture and how it all comes together for them.
Have you seen any challenges or barriers to people accessing care for their allergies?
I think a big part of a big barrier that we're seeing at the moment in general practice is it can be really hard to actually go and see an allergist or an immunologist. So if someone comes and sees me with a presentation and I'm umming and ahhing, I'm wondering if it is in fact an allergy that's involving the immune system, it can be quite difficult at the moment to actually get the patient seen, either by a private allergist or immunologist, or by someone in the public healthcare system because of the wait lists and the burden on the public healthcare system. So it just means it can be really tricky for patients to get the answers they want, because sometimes we need skin prick testing, Allergies, as we all know, can be very nuanced. So sometimes I go, oh, isn't it? I need a little bit of extra help from an expert in the area, someone who's a real expert in this niche area. And it can be hard to get that opinion, which means that patients can often feel like they're in the wilderness for a little while. It can be really challenging.
It can be. It definitely can be. Now, Dr. Preeya, you also created this beautiful book as well. Could you tell a little bit about it?
Yeah, so this is Full Plate. This is a cookbook. This is something I've always wanted to do. And it really is just easy, simple cooking for everyone. The whole thing is one meal for the whole family. So in the book, I've got a key at the top for allergies. So it tells you, which recipes are gluten-free, dairy-free, peanut-free, egg-free, tree nut-free. There's lots of others. So it just means it's easy for people to navigate. And what I've tried to do is just simple veggie packed cooking. And you don't need any cooking skills, but it's yummy, it's easy, it's doable. And I'm talking about, reducing salt intake, lots of rainbows, what I call fruit and veggies, to yield all the benefits for the body and the brain. So it's not your coffee table cookbook. I keep saying this. It's the one you'll actually use. You're going to have it, there'll be corners down, there'll be tomatoes splashed all over it because you'll actually use it. It's for simple everyday cooking. And if you've got someone who's got an allergy or a fussy eater or a kid starting solids, whoever it is, you can adapt the meal for them and I tell you how to do it.
It sounds fantastic, especially not needing all of the skills cooking that you can just go along with it.
Correct. So I've assumed no skills because I am at the end of the day just a home cook. So I often say in there, just chop haphazardly, get the kids involved, food exposures to reduce the risk of fussy eating, get them to love and become familiar with rainbows. And so it doesn't matter how stuff is chopped in this book, it will still taste good and be good for you.
In the book, you also have some information on allergies and intolerances. Did this factor into your book?
Absolutely. So what I've tried to do at the start of the book is I talk a lot about my ethos when it comes to food, what I talk about with patients. I talk about the evidence when it comes to, why you might want to have a diet high in fruit and veggies, reduce salt intake for adults and kids as well. I give some tips for feeding children, so starting solids, how to deal with fussy eating. But the allergies and intolerances section, I included that because I'm a doctor. And because I often see that people get really confused between allergies and intolerances, which are completely different entities, as I think most people here would know. And so I do give a bit of a spiel there that, allergies can be life-threatening, that involves the immune system, that intolerances, tend not to be life-threatening, they don't involve the immune system. So I break it down. And when I refer to the key, I'm really talking to people with allergies, the peanut-free, tree nut-free, dairy-free. If someone's lactose intolerant, they might still be able to include some of the ingredients because we know that people have a different threshold. But for people with allergies, it's really clear as to which recipes are going to work for you. So, yeah, it was a big part of the book.
You also touch on some vital questions in there, like when to add solids and introduce those potential allergy foods. Could you touch a little bit on that?
Yeah, so that's going back to, my role in prevention as a GP when I talked about preventing food allergies. And so throughout the book, because it's one meal for the whole family, I talk about feeding kids, how you can tailor recipes to kids, blitz it now, or don't add the spice, don't add honey for kids under one, all those sorts of tips in it. But I do repeatedly point out through the book which recipes are great for introducing or keeping those common allergy causing foods in the diet for infants. So we know that there are those common allergy causing foods like shellfish, fish, peanut protein, tree nuts, all of them, there's so many. And so I do point out to the reader or the cooker, whoever it is, you're getting this into the diet, sprinkle some sesame seeds. That's a great way to get the common allergy causing food into your child's diet, or keep it in the diet if it's already in there. To reduce the risk of food allergies. So it's trying to make it really easy for parents and caregivers.
Thank you so much for touching on that. But I've got the most important question here. What is your favourite recipe in the book?
That's a really tricky one. So I've been asked this so many times recently, and I have to say there's not one, but I have my top three if I'm allowed.
Okay, you're allowed.
I'm allowed. So staple beans is a favourite. So a lot of the recipes are budget friendly. It's all, canned beans, frozen veg, what's in season. So the canned beans are really good, versatile, heaps of veg. My kids love it. We eat it at least once a fortnight. The dal is really good. That's my family dal, easy to whip up, lots of rainbows, and the tuna mornay is a family favourite.
Quite a range there with those three.
Yes, there is. There's lots of different recipes in there, but they're all easy. So if you're thinking dal and tuna mornay, like I have to say there are some classics in there, like zucchini slice and tuna mornay, that I do my Preeya spin on. So there's no white sauce, for instance. I do creamed corn instead in the tuna mornay, so no saturated fat, but lots of veggies. And so there's a couple of weird Preeyaisms. Don't knock it till you try it. I promise it's yummy.
I love it. Love the Preeya-isms.
Yes. You'll have some fun whilst cooking. There's a couple of jokes through there. So, yeah, you'll have some fun. Some laughs and giggles on the way.
How are you wanting people to use your book?
Well, I want them to use it, is the basics. Like, it's not a coffee table cookbook. I want people to actually use it to go, what am I going to cook for the week? To find yummy food that everyone's going to love, that you're going to have joy cooking. There's not too many ingredients. It's not difficult. It's all in season. I say to you, if capsicum's $10.99 a kilo as it is now, don't use it in the cacciatore. Use zucchini instead, which is in season. I just want people to have some fun. I want to bring joy back. And I think a lot of stuff has gotten really muddy and confusing for people. We know diet culture plays a role. There's a lot of unqualified voices telling people not to eat certain foods. This is kind of you can eat everything. Here's a couple of tips and tricks, and you can create yummy food easily that's great for the body and the brain.
That's fantastic information. Where can people find your book and purchase it?
So it's in all bookstores. You can really walk into anywhere, Dymocks, Readings, wherever you like, Big W, Kmart, and it's there. Full Plate is the name of it. So you'll see me cooking on the cover. Go and grab a copy.
You also mentioned that you're on social media. Is there a handle that people should look out for, Preeya?
So it's very easy. It's doctor, as in the word, fully spelt out, Preeya.Alexander. So really easy.
It's fantastic. Is there anything else that you would like to say to the allergy community?
I think that it can be really tricky. I definitely see the emotional and psychological burden of living with allergies in whatever form they are, if you're a parent or caregiver. So it can be really difficult, exhausting, emotionally taxing, and I acknowledge that. And hopefully, if you do enjoy Full Plate or you do get a copy, hopefully you find it a little bit easier to create some deliciousness at mealtime with the key that's in there. Hopefully it makes it a bit easier.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Preeya, for being on Talking Allergies and for sharing a bit about your background and also about Full Plate.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you, Dr. Preeya. That was a wonderful interview. Loved hearing all about your experiences and the support that you've provided the allergy community, but also why you've created this book. It's such a great resource, and I hope a lot of people can create some tasty delights from it and learn all about becoming the best allergy chef they can.
Oh, the best allergy chefs are always the ones that cater and tailor things, but anyone can be an allergy chef.
And you can find Dr. Preeya's book, Full Plate, at all local bookstores. Of course, we'll drop a link to the book and wherever you catch your podcasts. You can also find Dr. Preeya on Instagram at dr.preeya.alexander. And we'll also drop that in the bio wherever you catch your podcasts.
Thank you, Dr. Preeya, for talking about your book with the recipes, and also for talking about your work as a GP and how that relates to allergies as well.
On the next Talking Allergies episode, Grace, we are going to be talking more about allergies, of course, but we will touch into some of those reactions that people can have with allergies.
There's a lot to cover in that. I'm looking forward to the next episode
On Talking Allergies.
on Talking Allergies.
The discussions on Talking Allergies are here to support you or your loved one on your journey with allergies. The topics discussed here are not intended as medical instruction or as a substitute for advice by a qualified healthcare provider.